Hi y'all, it's Charlene from the Crafty Art Shack, and we're back here today with a challenge video. So let's get to the craft desk to get started because this one's too cute. Let's go. Alright, here we go with DIY number 1. Now for this DIY you're going to need a piece of faux leather, and I printed out the bunny that you saw on the paper to make sure it was going to fit. Now this is a piece of that faux leather that the Dollar Tree sells, and it's the white creamy looking one. And so what I'm doing is I'm taping it down, and I've got to cut off the end because if I fold it over it's going to be too thick to go through my printer. Now you guys, I don't know if this will work with an inkjet, but it does work with the laser jet printer. So I took and printed this out on the faux leather, and here it is after it's printed out on there. I noticed that it left some marks from the printing process, so I'm going to take some alcohol, some rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to take a Q-tip and I'm going to just clean that up. Now here's where you see me take my little square, and I'm going to just take a pencil and I'm going to trace around the lines of this so that I can cut this and everything is nice and neat. I'm going to take this stain that I got from Lowe's. I believe it was Lowe's. It's either Lowe's or Home Depot. I found it over in their Oops section. Now this does stain blue, and so I'm going to apply this stain and then I'm going to wipe off the excess. Okay, now we're ready to add our little bunny to the board. So I'm going to just hot glue the corners down for right now. And as I do each corner, I'm going to make sure I stretch it so that it's tight and not loose. And then I'm going to add some little buttons to it. And then I'm going to add one of these jute ropes to the bottom of this. And I'm going to hot glue it in place. And I'm going to start at the bottom of the picture, so that when I put my little swag of flowers on that I'm doing right here, it will not show where I put it together at. And after I get all my flowers glued into place and I put a little jute bow on there, I'm going to take me a piece of wire, and this is about a little less than 24 inches long, and I'm going to take and wrap it around a dowel rod so that it gives me that little spring look to it, and then I'm going to attach it to my board. I'm going to flip my little sign over and I'm going to attach it with hot glue, and then I'm going to take some of this burlap ribbon. I'm not sure where I got that from. It's been a while since I purchased it, and I'm going to put it on the back to cover up where I attach my little metal hanger. And then we will see the rest of this at the final reveal. Now today's video is the Spring Board Open Challenge. It's hosted by Crafty Hints, co-hosted by Rustic Lace DIY, and co-hosted by 6 Kids and a Glue Gun. You guys go check out these ladies. There's also a description in the description box below. There is also a playlist and the links to these ladies' channels. Go check them out because they're doing some awesome crafts and you don't want to miss them. Now here we go with DIY number 2. Now for this DIY you're going to need a little square dowel rod and a paint stick and another dowel rod that's smaller. Now what you're going to do is you're going to cut all of these. Now what we're making is a little Scrabble board holder. I don't have one, so I'm making one. If you have one, you can use it for this craft. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my dowel rod down to the size that I want it to be, and then I'm going to cut down my paint stick, and my little square dowel rod is already 2 size, and I'm going to paint those. And if you guys cut this with your miter shears, it will cut a lot easier. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little square dowel rod and I am going to trim it up. Now this one was already painted white from another project I did, and I'm reusing it for this one. What you want to do is create a angle on the back side of that so that it sits flat, so that it sits at an angle, and then you're going to use You're going to actually need another dowel rod for there, and you're going to need one for the front. So I end up recutting my dowel rod to a different size, and I've taken everything and got it cut to the right size and the right size dowel rod. I'm going to drop some hot glue about the center of this little paint stick, and then I'm going to glue my smaller one. Your larger one's going to go in the center. Your smaller one is going to go to the front, and you just hot glue that in place. And then the next thing we're going to do is we are going to hot glue our square dowel rod into place, and you want to set it on that angle. Now what you're trying to do is create a smooth transition from each piece. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of this spackling, and you guys, I hate getting stuff on my fingers like this, but this one was a must. And so what I'm doing here is I'm taking that lightweight spackling, and what I'm doing is I'm squishing it in between all of those cracks so that this looks like one continuous piece of board, and it will look like the little Scrabble tray that you put your stuff on. And I want mine to look as professional as I can get it looking, and so this is the way I came up with to fix mine. Now you're going to put it there, you're going to put it across the back of it right there where I'm showing you there, and you're going to do it on the front side. That way when we get done, it looks like this little Scrabble holder was just, it's an original Scrabble piece or stand, whatever you call it. Now the next thing as I did is I took my little butterfly, I took two of them, and I painted them both white with my Posca white paint marker. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to paint my little Scrabble board holder with this color. It's called Maze, and it's made by Waverly. And so I'm going to let that sit over there under the fan and dry, and then I'm going to take some of this floral wire, and I'm going to make me a little swag to go across the top of my piece. And I'm just tying everything together with my little floral wire. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the little Scrabble pieces. These aren't really Scrabble pieces. They're called bananagram little tiles, but they look just like the Scrabble pieces, and I'm going to start hot gluing these into place right here on my little stand, and it's going to say spring, and then I'm going to add my little bouquet that I made, or swag, or whatever you want to call it, and my little butterflies to this project, and you will see the rest of this at the final reveal. At this time, we'd like to give a special shout out to our subscribers. We thank you so much, and we love you bunches, and thanks for subscribing to our channel and liking and sharing. It really helps us out. Here we go with DIY number 3. Okay, for this DIY, you're going to need 2 little buttons and 2 beads. Doesn't matter what color they are. And we are going to take that little bead. We want to make sure we glue it down with the bead front facing, or the bead sides facing like that. Then we're going to take 2 dowel rods, and these are approximately, I'd say about 4 inches. You can make them as tall as you want to. Then we're going to take a straw, and we're going to cut slits in it. And then we are going to open it up where that slides over and down on our bead like I just showed you, and we're going to hot glue that into place. And what we're making is we're making one of these cute little flower people. This thing's turned out so stinking cute, you guys. So this is this little leg, and the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to add some little greenery. Now that is a little bud piece that came off of those what do you call it, the garland that has the little flower things. I don't know what they're called. And then I took some little grass pieces that came off of some flowers that I had, and I'm sticking them in around the straw, and we're just going to add all these little flower pieces into here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I took an old shirt and I cut it up and I frayed the edges, and we're going to take and cut about a 2-inch strip, and we're going to glue the center of it right to the front of that little bead, and then we're going to glue the back of it to the back of our straw. Now this is going to be his little boot, and those little flowers are going to be coming out of his boot because he's a little flower himself. And so we're just going to glue this down. Then we're going to take a piece of twine and we are going to tie it around there, and look there, it created this little boot, and we're going to make an itty bitty bow. And I had to make it long enough so that I could work with it, and then I pull the little things, the loops back down so that they're not so long, and then I fray out the little edges and trim up the bow. And this is his first little leg. Now I do take a bigger piece of jute cord and go around the base of his little shoe so that it looks finished off. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I have these little peg people. Now I painted the top of it with Sunkissed Peach, and I painted the bottom with that yellow maize. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole in the bottom of this little peg, 2 little holes for his legs. Now don't start out with a big drill bit like I did, because this is some hard wood. And so I went and got a smaller drill bit to work with to get these holes, and you want to make 2 little holes to stick the straws up in and glue them in. Be real careful with that. So after I get my little holes drilled, I'm going to take and stick hot glue on there and put both of his little legs on. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and deconstruct this flower. Now I'm going to use some of the pieces, so when you deconstruct your flower, you want to set it to the side. Now I am going to lay mine out, take up my little iron, and iron these nice and flat so it's really easy to work with them. If they are all squishy and moving around, you're going to have problems, so it's just easier to go ahead and iron everything out flat. Then the next thing I did is I took all of them and I lined them. Oh well, I was going to line them up and cut them all at once, but I decided that probably wasn't a smart idea. So I'm going to cut all the way to the center a little slit, and then I'm going to go back and I'm looking at this little piece because I'm going to use it for his little collar on the flower. Okay, the next thing I did is I cut this just like I did the flower, and then I'm going to cut out the center of this so that it fits around my little person's head. And this thing turns out so adorable. And after that, you want to take your little flowers, you want to fold them in half, and then you want to fold them in half again and cut straight across. And that is going to leave your little center open so that it fits around your little person's head. Now I started adding the little petals back to my little person, and what you do is you just wrap it around just like a collar going on around, putting it on like you put a shirt on. Now I put hot glue here, but I ended up taking the hot glue back off in just a minute, so don't hot glue that at this point. Only glue together the seam down at the front, but don't glue it to your little person, just glue the seam. Now you're going to add your bigger petals towards the back, and you're going to take and put a little dab of glue right there in the very front and attach it, and then you'll do the other side, and if it overlaps, that's okay. That's actually pretty good. That's what you want. And then we'll add all the petals like this, and then we'll move on to the next part. Now this next part is probably the most difficult part of it all, and I ended up pulling the hot glue off. Now I'm going to take this little center part of the flower and I'm going to wrap it around the bead. And if you don't glue it, see how I had to take it apart? Don't glue it, because you're going to need to be able to glue this together in the back. So I'm going to glue that hard plastic piece to the back of the head and let it dry, and then I will add back the glue to the petals. Then the next thing I did is I took some of the leaves from this particular flower, and I am going to start gluing them towards the top. I'm going to glue some on the sides and some hanging out down the bottom, but I am not going to wrap them around like I did the other, because I want them to show on the sides when you look at this from the front. Now what you're going to do is I took a piece of burlap ribbon, and I am going to cut a 1-inch strip, and then because it was so wide I had to fold mine over, and then I'm going to glue a piece of that leaf to the top of that, and then I'm going to add that to the top of my little person's head, and this is going to be his little hat, just like that, and we'll glue that down in place. Now when you glue that in place, it's going to cover up that little spot that where you joined it together in the back, so you want to make sure that little hat is covering it. Then I'm going to take a Sharpie marker, draw his little eyes on there, and draw a little mouth. And then the next thing I did is I took some of that thicker jute cord, and it comes from the crafter square, and I'm going to take and glue that all the way around this little piece just to add some character to it. And I put some little rosy cheeks on, but I forgot, I didn't draw his mouth in yet, or her mouth in yet, but I'm just going to glue this around the edge of the flower just to give it some interest. Now to add, I'm going to add some hair. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking one of these larger jute ropes, and I'm going to unravel it and cut it into a little piece like this. Now I know it's too long, but you want to cut it a little bit longer so that when you get ready to glue it on, you can hold it and then have room to not get your fingers in the glue. So we're going to add some hot glue to the top of the head, and then we're going to stick the whole little thing up there and tuck it in and to the glue, so that now my little person has some hair. And this is so cute. And then the next little thing that I did is I took a leaf and I folded it kind of to make like a little piece to go at the neck. And then I'm not sure what I'm doing here. What am I doing? I don't know. I don't think I know what I'm doing. I'm looking to see if this is what I want to put there, or do I want to put a bow. I end up putting the bow there, and I'm going to take some of that, what do you call it? The little garland, the beaded garland that you get at Christmas time and the times throughout the year. I'm going to take some of the little green dots off of the end of it, and I'm going to stick it to the end of my little bow to make it look like it's part of the flower growing. And I'm going to take and sizzle off all those frayed edges. Now, if you see laying there on the table, that's the stuff I'm talking about that has the little beads on it, yeah, whatever it's called, the garland. And I add it to the little ends of the little bow. Now, what you see me doing here is I'm taking some of those little sprigs that we stuck in his boots or her boots, and we're going to add it up there to the top in her hair. Now for this next part, I took a little wire, a piece of floral wire, and I wrapped it around. Now I had to tuck it underneath the little body and under the flowers in the front. Now what you see me doing is gluing the little wire into place, and you want to leave those two ends sticking up like that, because that is going to be our little arms. Now the next thing I'm going to do is cut me a straw, and I'm checking to see how long I want them to be. They need to be long enough so that they show from the front side of your little flower child, doll, whatever you want to call it. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking and making the little hands, and it's going to be just these little pearl beads. You can get those from the Dollar Tree, and this is one of those little bitty things that hold your earrings when you're making jewelry. And I'm going to take and stick some glue down inside the little straw, and I'm going to take and stick the bead in there, and that's going to be my little hand. Now I'm going to stick that over the top of that wire. Now you're going to have to cut it off if it's too long, so I'm trying to figure about how much I need to cut off. And remember, you want it to be long enough so that your little hand sticks up above in the back. Once you've got those like you want them, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put some glue over the top of your straws before you add in this little piece right here. Glue your straws down so that they don't move on you. And then I'm going to glue that all the way around till it meets in the front of the body again. And I'm going to just tuck it into place. If it doesn't fit, just kind of tuck it under there. You may need to get your tweezers out or whatever, but I didn't have a problem just sticking it under there. And that hides everything on the back so that it just looks nice from the back side as well. Now, once we get all that glued in place, the next thing I'm going to do is take and get me one of those wood rounds from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to stick it down. I'm going to glue them down to that. And then we're going to put some little embellishments on this, and that way our little person stands up. And I'm going to add a little mushroom. I'm going to add a little ladybug to it, and we'll see the rest of this at the final reveal. Now, today's video is the Spring Poured Open Challenge. It's hosted by Crafty Hints, co-hosted by Rustic Lace DIY, and co-hosted by 6 Kids and a Glue Gun. You guys go check out these ladies. There's also a description. In the description box below, there is also a playlist and the links to these ladies' channels. Go check them out because they're doing some awesome crafts and you don't want to miss them. Now, here we go with the final reveal. Y'all, we're back from the craft desk. Didn't this little guy turn out super, super cute? I think he's absolutely adorable. And you guys, if you like this content, then subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share our videos because it really helps our channel out. And we'll see you in the next episode of the Crafty Art Shack. We'll see you later. Bye.
And this one's yeah, what's it called? It's a challenge video. These are too cute to keep talking about. Yeah, something like that. Hi y'all, it's Charlene from the Crafty Art Shack, and we're back here today with another video on some. Hi y'all, it's Charlene. Yeah, and I'm from the Crafty Art Shack. I sure am. Alright y'all, we're back from the craft desk. Really? I forgot what I was going to say. It is super cute. So let's get to the craft desk and get started because we need to. This one is a challenge video, and I'll tell you more about that somewhere in there. And you guys, if you like this content, then subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share our videos because it really helps our channel out. And we'll see you in the next episode of the Crafty Art Shack. We'll see you later. Bye.